TCM and perimenopause. TCM, it's not a brand name. It is traditional Chinese medicine. And what does it have to do with perimenopause? Well, last year when I was having my lowest time in my life, I was in a group chat with friends from university back in 2002. It was an exchange year abroad. I was in Copenhagen and Denmark, and there were students from Indonesia and the US and Spain and the Netherlands, and it was just a kaleidoscope of people and colors and cultures, and it was a gorgeous, gorgeous 6 months, and it feels like a lifetime. It was fabulous. It was a really, really nice year. And gladly, some of the friends took up the initiative and they created a WhatsApp group. So we now have a WhatsApp channel where every now and then we wish each other happy birthday and write a little bit of things. It slowed down the past few years because people got sick and have children and are busy and I don't quite recall why I wrote it. But for some reason I shared that I'm one of the many people, one of the rising number of people on this planet suffering from depression, and that the reason isn't found yet, that it's not clear whether it's my brain or my hormones or reduced kidney function, but that was just what it was. And a friend of mine was so kind to write to me that he remembered the time from back then and how vivid I was, how vibrant I was, how he felt kindly treated and valued and by my actions, by our interactions, and that he wished me all the best and that he could imagine that it wasn't the easiest to share that I was suffering from depression or going through a phase of depression. And I did not have the strength to reply to him. I also did not know what to reply to him. And all those things which I wrote, whether it's the brain, whether it's hormones, or whether it's the kidneys, now, about a year later, not quite yet, but feels like a lifetime again, it seems that it has been all of these three things. Because all of these three things, brain, hormones, kidneys, they are connected. And why was I thinking brain? Because I felt it was just mashed potatoes in my head. It was just like my brain was a dough being turned over, like a pizza dough, and just taking out of the fridge and getting a new kneading and punching, and it didn't feel that it was going bad in a way. It rather felt that it was in a complete rework and restructuring process. And maybe that's actually what's happening during perimenopause for some women. Some maybe not, because not every woman is experiencing brain-related symptoms, but some do, and I'm one of those who really does. So it was the brain, my mashed potatoes, also affected due to hormonal changes, and I'm repeating myself, hormonal spikes and fluctuations and spikes upwards and spikes downwards. Does that exist? You know what I mean. And also because of those imbalances between the hormonal levels. So that's a cause which can affect the brain, which can affect inflammation throughout the body. And why the kidney? Because I am practicing Qigong for a year and a half now, and I found that it's very, very helpful. The smooth exercises, the stretching of the body, the deep tissue strengthening of the body. It's a different kind of exercise than lifting weights. Like with lifting weights, I can feel, and I really flex my muscles. It's super solid and everything, but it's the big muscles. And Qigong, I feel it goes a layer deeper. It goes into those tiny muscles. It goes into those intercostal muscles between your ribs. It goes into those super precise muscles in your or between your spine and vertebrae. So it goes into the deeper layers, I feel. And I sensed, and I started practicing Qigong before I started lifting weights and finding my way into another form of exercise, that it helped me a lot. Once because of the physical activity, because of the mental body connection, because of the breath work, and also because of the regular communal experience which I had when I went out and met people, or even if it was online, which was also very, very helpful. And through Qigong and through my passion and curiosity for South Korea and South Korean philosophy, grew my interest in Asia in general, and I developed an interest into Chinese philosophy because it highly influenced elements of South Korean philosophy and South Korean culture. So I went to the roots, or some of the roots, and looked into Chinese philosophy with Buddhism and Taoism and the concept of one and yin yang and the cycle of life, basically. Like when something's so strong that it's already in the decline, that something new is going to start, and when something's like it's so much about that. So possibly I will be speaking more about those. But one thing out of that was also how Chinese philosophy is beyond a thinking process, is beyond a mental process. And that to me was new. I mean, I'm not the expert in philosophy and as experts out there, but what I knew from Western philosophy and from the German thinkers, those are often concepts, at least as I understood them so far, very much related to this part of our bodies. Just these few centimeters, it's related to the brain. It's related to the thought and kind of stopping there. Whereas the Asian concepts of philosophy are much more integrated. They might be starting in the brain, might be, but not even, not necessarily, and not all of them. And definitely they're much more connected, interconnected, and just they're one with the relationship to our body. How our body is as one item, it's not individual. It's really an orchestra of cells. It's an orchestra of organs. It's an interplay and an interconnection. And it's not, this is the mind and the rest is the body. It's all one. And I thought that very interesting. And so much more to investigate in that other videos. And one concept in traditional Chinese medicine is that the breath of life, which is given to us by our parents already before we were born, because it's inbred within our cells during pregnancy and while we're still in the womb, is the energy of the kidneys. So we have a breath of life which is stored in our kidneys based on those philosophical traditional Chinese medicine concepts. And I thought, when I felt my life was just shutting down, it was really lights turning off everywhere. I could switch on a light, but there was no light bulb anymore. It was just pew, pew, pew. Really, it was like we're closing this movie theater. Bye-bye, go and watch Netflix. It really was, everything was shutting down, and I thought, maybe I've exasperated my breath of life. Maybe my kidneys don't have any more life stored in them, so maybe that's why it's so difficult. And also, the kidneys are connected to the season of winter, and they are connected to water and indirectly to dryness. And I found that interesting because my eye was having dry seasons cyclically. My nose was dry every time. My skin had become much drier than it used to be. My hair became drier, my nails, my fingernails became drier. I started getting those old people lines, or it's not really lines, it's more like edges on my nails. Everything which I could sense outside of my body showed signs of dryness. And so connected to the kidneys, I wasn't having enough water, I wasn't having enough kidney energy, I wasn't having enough life energy. But I hadn't made the connection, what is helping kidney energy? What is helping them to become strong and to function? What is nourishing them? And just a couple of weeks ago, I was on a seminar on TCM tea and TCM soups. And for whatever reason, it clicked. And I did a little bit more research, and it's simple. It actually really is simple, and it is easy. Kidney loves water, humidity, humidity and moisture, and the color black. Because, now again, going back to philosophy and TCM, the water element is represented by black, not necessarily blue. Blue is almost more of a wood element, also with feng shui and how to design your house and everything. Blue, you might think it's water, because like when we paint water, when we symbolize water, it oftentimes has a blue color, like our water bottles often have a blue wrapping or a green wrapping. Blue oftentimes is much more related to the wood element, whereas dark blue and black represent the water element. And this water element can be taken into the body through nutrition. So like, how can I take black? How can I eat black? What's out there that's black? And it might not be in everybody's daily diet, but it's pretty easy to include in a daily diet. And I've experimented with that for a couple of weeks now, and I have two hacks. One ultra simple, the other pretty simple. And I find that both help me sustain energy levels better throughout the day. And that's a new discovery. I mean, it's a new discovery because I never had these problems before. I mean, never before I crashed into them. And maybe they help you too. So, the super simple recipe or hack is black tea. That's it, black tea. And I listened to the Diary of a CEO, and there was an expert on the Diary of a CEO, and he spoke about nutrition and the benefits of green tea and the benefits of matcha tea. And then he said, but very few people know that actually Earl Grey tea has even higher health benefits than green tea. And green tea is considered to be very healthy. It's good for the bones, it's good for the teeth, but I don't really like green tea. I mean, I've been drinking it every now and then because I know it's healthy. This part of my body knows it's healthy, but the rest of my body thinks, nah, okay, come in, have a seat, but play on your own. Whereas Earl Grey tea with a little bit of cream, I love it. I love it. It's so good. And once a day now for breakfast, I'm having a cup, not a mug, not a container. I'm having a cup of Earl Grey tea with a sip of cream. And I love that. It's really good. It's really helpful. I'm just having one cup because I know that my body is pretty, how shall I say, pretty good at accessing the caffeine. So for example, I cannot really drink coffee. I love the taste of coffee, but it's just, it peaks me and then it drops me. And after drinking coffee about 2 to 3 hours later, I need to have sugar. I need to have sugar, otherwise I'm shaking. It's just too much. I'm always joking, because I'm half Colombian, I have the coffee in my blood. Maybe that's the case. Maybe I'm just not so good at metabolizing coffee, or maybe it's just the opposite, that I'm so good at metabolizing coffee that it's just putting too much stress on my body. But Earl Grey tea, 1 cup of Earl Grey tea, there's no peak, there's no drop, but it feels very nutritious and steady in a way. So maybe that's something to try out if you feel you can do your kidneys a little bit better. If you want to do something good for your kidneys, if you feel you have dryness in your body, whether it's skin or eyes or nose or whatever tissues, or your fingernails are becoming more brittle, maybe try having Earl Grey tea. And it's particularly Earl Grey tea, which is so health beneficial and even outshining green tea. And that expert on the Diary of a CEO said that it might be because of the combination of the black tea leaves with the bergamot oil. So if you're looking for Earl Grey tea, and I made a mistake, I went to the store and I bought Earl Grey tea and I bought loose tea, because tea bags, even the paperish tea bags, they all contain microplastics. And when you put hot boiling water on them, you have basically microplastic soup. So that might not be so good. So I went for the loose tea. I bought Earl Grey tea, and usually I do. I didn't that time. I didn't check the label. And it is black tea and it is bergamot flavored. But whatever is the origin of the flavor, it's not actual bergamot oil. And even with that, I feel it is helping me. It is beneficial. But next time I buy Earl Grey tea, and I bought a big bag of Earl Grey tea, next time I'm buying Earl Grey tea, I will buy actual real Earl Grey tea with real black tea leaves and with real bergamot oil to get the full benefit, and I imagine it might even taste better. So Earl Grey tea, super simple hack, and I can only recommend to try it in the morning and maybe not afternoon, because it does contain a form of caffeine, and it is known that caffeine stays within our systems for about 10 hours or potentially longer. And so if you take it or have it after noon, it might impede with your sleep. So experiment with that, see what works well for you. The second hack, very simple, a little bit more complicated than boiling a cup of tea. It is black sesame soup. And it might actually sound more complicated than it is. Black sesame soup, what I'm doing is I take 1 one tablespoon of black sesames, put them in a pot, and I added about a good cup of water. I cut in 3 dates and I let it simmer for maybe 30-35 minutes at a low temperature. So it wasn't this rolling boil, it was more like simmering until the water in which was in the pot really turned black. So it wasn't just a grayish watery thing, it was really black water. So that's something what you can look for when you're trying to recreate this at home. If the water is really black, it's done. If it's not really black, it might not be done, and it doesn't taste as good. I've tried it, it doesn't taste as good. And yeah, that's it. A tablespoon of black sesames, a cup of water, let it simmer. And add the 3 dates, and I cut them. You can slice them. I usually just cut them with scissors because it's so much easier. And it gives a nice sweetness. It gives this round, warmish, welcoming, like this sweater, welcoming warmth and sweetness, which is so good. Again, connecting back to TCM, which is so good for the water element because it's black. It is warm, it is moist, it's nourishing our kidneys, and black sesame is highly, highly, highly nourishing. Has lots of magnesium, it has iron, it has many other minerals. So it's really, really good. And I feel when I have that soup, and also with the soup, I add a good dash of cream. So it gets this gorgeous pattern. It's like batik soup in a way. And it feels like a real treat. It's so velvety and nice. And I actually enjoy chewing on the seeds. And I do not have problems with my digestion to actually have those seeds if I would not have been chewing them well enough. But what you can also do is to grind the seeds before boiling, or once you've boiled it, to blend it so it's more smooth. And possibly a bit easier digestible. Something else which I've tried and been experimenting with is just the same 1 tablespoon of black sesames, a good cup of water, and about half a teaspoon of chia seeds and half a teaspoon of these seeds, and just add them from the very beginning and let it boil, but keep it on a simmering temperature. And what you'll get is like a jello kind of thing, which is like if you were around in the 80s and you have been around and were a child while Ghostbusters with Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray was a really, really big thing, it's likely that you've been playing with slimy things and they were like you could throw them and you could pick them back up. Like that jello does have a kind of like a Ghostbuster slimy texture, but it also it's fun to eat. It's something different to the soup from the sensation. But if you like that, it's also very, very nice. And also with that, add the dates because it gives this sweetness and roundness, and it's a healthier kind of sugar. Yeah, just with that one, add a little bit of cream. I like liquid cream, and maybe you like whipped cream. Play with it, experiment with it. If you really want to go crazy, you might want to add ice cream, but all this sugar, not so good for us ladies. Rather go for the natural. Any kind of sugar originally is natural, so it's a bit difficult to say that, but I can just recommend going for the more unprocessed sugars, like the actual sugar or the actual fruit to give sweetness, and not the highly processed and ultra industrialized sugars like corn syrup and that stuff. But it's your choice, play with it. So TCM and perimenopause and the kidneys and the water element to add more moisture, to add more strength to your kidneys to do something good to them. So maybe if you are craving sweets or the taste of sweet, it doesn't always have to be the ultra unhealthy chocolate bars and over calorized cakes and all of that. It can be healthy sweet flavors, and whenever I have this black sesame soup, it's really an energy bath. I feel a lot energized from it, and maybe it's because it's so highly nutritional and fun. In a way, I feel black sesame soup is fun. It gives me joy. It's just like being on a swing, like when I was a child, like, woo. Black sesame soup does that to my tummy and to my emotions. And what I found, but it's possibly not just because of Earl Grey tea and black sesame tea, it's possibly a combination of the culmination of all the things and tweaks and everything I've been doing for the past months. My fingernails have changed in a nice way. So all those crazy bumps and dents which I got when I was taking lithium because I was bipolar in a 5-minute conversation with my family doctor, all those road disasters in my fingernails are gone, and on top of that they have become much smoother. So my thumbnails and the fingernails of my smaller nails, they had been a little sharp in a way on the surface, and that sharpness has reduced. So maybe even my fingernails are able to access moisture in a better way. My skin isn't as dry, and I feel that my kidneys are recharging. It feels they're been plugged into an energy socket, and it's a wonderful feeling. So 2 simple recipes: Earl Grey tea, black sesame soup, both very delicious and very healthy and nutritious. Play with it, experiment with it, and possibly you notice that they are doing well for you too. And if they don't, stop having them. Find your own solutions, but give it a try.